Hello everybody, it is me, Nathan or ELEMENTofFROST, back again to bring you guys another episode review video for The Walking Dead. This one is going to be doing it on The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 6, and this one is entitled Consumed. Alright guys, so to dig right into this, I just want to let you guys know, obviously there is spoilers if you guys have been keeping up with my episode reviews and or prediction videos. I warn you on every one, and basically I just tell you that they're spoilers because some of you guys get pissed off if I don't. And again, it gets annoying. I mean, honestly, it's an episode review. How do you expect me to do a review without, spoiling anything? But nonetheless, whatever. Spoilers, so if you guys haven't seen episode 6 yet, or up until episode 6, then, obviously don't watch this if you're intending on watching The Walking Dead. So now, anyways, basically the episode starts off basically with a flashback, okay, basically, and we get to see Carol basically leaving after Rick, okay. In Season 4, Episode 4, we found out that Rick obviously knew about Carol and, killing Karen and David and stuff like that, and, basically this flashback is basically when Rick and Carol were in that little community gathering supplies for Herschel. So this is a pretty far flashback, obviously back before the fall of the prison. And after we seen Carol drive away in that car, we see it from Rick's perspective, but we never seen what happened to Carol. But this time we get to see Carol's point of view. So we see her drive away, and now it's Carol. So she drives away and basically breaks down in her car. The car doesn't break down. I mean, she breaks down emotionally and, stuff like that. So, anyway, she breaks down. She just starts crying, and there's a walker outside, and everything's not going her way. Obviously, she just got kicked out of the group, and, it's just an all-around down day for her. And she breaks down emotionally in her car, and she's basically hurt more than she's let on, She thinks that she can survive on her own, and she knows that she probably can, but it's more or less emotionally, She can't still believe that she killed Karen and David. That was a very, very deep thing, and now she's kicked out of the group. So, everything is really not going her way at this point. And, anywho, moving on now, eventually she sets up in basically a law firm, okay? And that's basically really, it's not too far from the prison. It's basically there where she's getting up rain collectors, and this is basically where she sees smoke in the distance, okay? And the reason she sets up in this law firm is because it's very, very close to this prison. She kind of feels like still maybe part of the group a bit. Obviously, she's completely expelled from the group, but in another way, this law firm, which is right outside the prison, basically right outside the prison, a little bit of ways and stuff like that, but she has a good view, sort of it, She kind of gets to watch over her friends, and that's what happens. So she sees smoke in the distance, and she takes off, and, basically she finds the prison in chaos, after the governor attacked. So this is what kind of led her to Lizzie and Mika and Tyrese, and, stuff like that. She caught the tail end of it, basically. And she's seeing like the watchtower burning and stuff like that. We didn't actually really see the entire prison burning from her perspective, but we've seen the kind of like the reflection in the window of the windshield. We've seen the reflection of a watchtower burning, and the reason I think this is, why they didn't show the whole prison or anything like that, is pretty much because they closed down the set of the prison. It's kind of like an attraction now, more or less, not a set anymore. So they didn't want to have the whole prison. It'd be way too expensive just to have that prison burning for like one little tiny scene. So they kind of have a watchtower burning, and they kind of put that in the reflection of the windshield. And then, obviously we're led to believe that's the prison. It looks pretty similar to the prison, actually. The watchtowers did on, so that was pretty cool. So anyway, yeah, takes off, finds the prison burning. So that's basically the story of how Carol came back to the prison and started tracking her friends, which obviously, like I said, is Lizzie and Mika and Tyrese and the baby Judith and, stuff like that. So now back to the present, basically, or at least more recent present. Daryl and Beth, not Beth, I just said Beth. Daryl and Carol are tailing basically that car with the white cross on the back that we seen in episode 3. When Daryl and Carol obviously went off to try to track that car in episode 3, I haven't really seen him since. Anyway, we're back to that now. So that car hits a zombie, and Carol and Daryl's car finishes it basically off. Anyway, they follow the car into Atlanta, and basically the other car stops for a bit to kind of take care of some stuff. Maybe he had to take a piss. Who really knows exactly what happened. But anyways, they stopped the car right behind him. All their lights were out, so they didn't really see him or anything. So that car stopped, and they stopped behind him. And when they started their car back up to, obviously drive away, Carol and Daryl tried to as well, and the car didn't start. It didn't start. It didn't start the second time. So they had to find a nearby place, basically, that they can hold up in. And Carol basically says, I know a place. So she goes to a shelter for abused women. She basically tells Daryl that obviously, she spent a lot of time there back before the apocalypse. Obviously, her husband used to beat her, Ed, big old dickhead. Really, really glad that Shane just beat the fucking shit out of him in the quarry in season 1. That was pretty good. And then Ed obviously died in episode 4 as well. He was actually the first person to die by a zombie in the show, so that was very, very interesting to see and kind of link all together. And anyways, while they're going to the city, before their car broke down, I just want to, kind of give you guys a little tiny bit of a recap, basically. Basically, as they were driving into the city, as they were following this car, before the car stopped and before their car couldn't start again, we actually get to see the overhaul shot of the highway again, going into Atlanta. And this is the exact same shot that we've seen with Rick when he went into Atlanta on the horse back in Season 1, Episode 1. And it was very, very cool to see that again, and just to see how much more it's run down. When we've seen Rick go it through it the first time on Episode 1, obviously the pilot, Season 1, Episode 1, we seen him go into it, and yeah, of course it was run down. There was cars on the left side of the road, and the train tracks were completely run down, and stuff like that, because it's a zombie apocalypse, obviously. But that was only about a month in. And what we seen after this, when Carol and Daryl drove through, we can assume this is roughly about 2 years into the apocalypse, or roughly, give or take, obviously. Anyways, it's a lot more run down. There's shrubs growing out of the ground. The train tracks are completely overhauled by bushes and just weeds and, stuff like that. All the cars on the left side of the road, where there's basically a giant traffic jam, basically. I'm guessing that everybody was trying to get out of the city, and obviously that's the way out. That's the highway out. Never a smart idea in a zombie apocalypse to take the highway out of the city. It's going to be completely packed. Stick to the backgrounds, guys. Stick to the back roads. It is that simple, really. Anyways, or else you're going to get stuck in a traffic jam and then be featured on The Walking Dead. But anyways, in their way to the city, basically, this entire scene, we get to see the exact overhaul shot and everything, like pretty much the exact same shot that we've seen with Rick, but obviously the cars instead. And it was very, very cool to see that because it kind of just brings back, I guess, nostalgia memories, really, if you really think about it. Anyways, moving on from that whole scene, Anyways, they're in a shelter for abused women. She spent time there before the apocalypse when Ed used to beat her. They settle in a room with bunk beds, basically, and Daryl sees a book called The Treating Survivors of Child Abuse, and he picks that up. So kind of Carol's way of healing herself is going back to this place that she used to go to for women abuse, and we know that Daryl and Merle had a very big problem with their father hitting them, child abuse and stuff like that, and that's kind of Daryl's way to sort of heal himself. Basically, he picks up this book, and Carol basically wonders, I don't know, wonders, I think. It's definitely wonders. I don't know why I'm acting stupid. But anyway, she basically wonders about basically starting over in a place. That's a weird word. I know it's pretty fucking simple, but it's early in the morning, and I don't know. They're basically starting over in a place basically designed to help people and, start over and, stuff like that. But she basically says that she doesn't know she would have done it if Daryl hadn't found her by the car near the church, She didn't know what she was really going to do. When Daryl found her by the church, obviously she was packing that car and getting ready to leave, and Daryl found her and basically asked her, what the fuck are you doing? Well, obviously not fuck, but what are you doing? And, she was really, really considering that possibility of leaving the group because she still doesn't feel like she really belongs there. But at the same time, she doesn't know if she would have because the group kind of needs her in a way, Uh, she saved the shit out of Tyrese and the girls back in season 4. And she also saved the shit out of Rick and the entire group in season 5, episode 1, when they were trapped by the Terminans and stuff like that. So, anyways, she basically says that she doesn't know what she would have done if Daryl hadn't found her by the car near the church. And they basically now hear banging somewhere on their floor. Some walkers are behind some frosted glass. This is a women's shelter, and it was actually a woman and her 2 children. Obviously, they were walkers. And Carol basically moves in to take care of them, and Daryl tells her that she doesn't have to, and basically leave them be. You don't have to do this. Obviously, they are obviously walkers, but you don't have to do this, sometimes killing's needed, sometimes killing's not, and you shouldn't have to kill, a woman or 2 children, especially when the exact same place that they're in is where Carol used to go with Sophia when Ed used to beat them. And anyways, moving on now. Basically, he says, she doesn't have to beat him, and then they actually go to sleep. They go to sleep, basically, and they wake up the next morning. And Carol wakes up the next morning basically to find that Carol has taken care of them, that woman and the 2 children, taken care of them, and even built basically a funeral for him, in all honesty. Like, he's out in the rooftop basically burning the bodies. We actually seen this in one of the sneak peeks, so honestly, we kind of thought it was a little more relative to this story, but it's really not. We kind of thought maybe at first, maybe it was like somebody important, like, did Beth die, or, something like that, or just did they kill somebody and then kind of get rid of the body in order to get into that place, but we don't really know. We didn't really know back then, obviously, but we know now that it was just walkers, and he wanted to kind of build a funeral for him in order to kind of honor Carol, because Carol has been in the same situation as as the walker and the 2 children have before, obviously. And anyways, so now after the funeral thing, Carol basically packs everything into her bag, and she packs this book of Tom Sawyer into her bag. And basically, if you remember, the book of Tom Sawyer in The Walking Dead is relative to when Herschel, back in season 4 in the prison, basically gave the book to Lizzie. He gave the book to Lizzie, and Lizzie always brought it with her. And always kind of liked to read, in all honesty. So anyways, they were talking about Tom Sawyer when they were walking on the railroad tracks, and she was also reading it to the kids in the prison, and everything like that. So anyways, she keeps Tom Sawyer, she keeps this book, obviously not to read. She's not going to read when they're not in a safe location, or, stuff like that. But it's for the memory, basically, of the girls, of Lizzie and Mika. And just kind of just remembering those 2 girls and kind of honoring them in a way, in all honesty. Kind of keeping their memories with her, taking that burden, I guess, in all honesty. So, anyways, moving on now. They move out and basically try to find that car that they were chasing. And their plan was to kind of try to get into a tall building, in order to see if they could find any leads or anything like that. And that's what they do. So they go into this sort of parking garage type area with sort of a bridge, a sky bridge, sort of. And they go into this parking garage, and basically Daryl lights a pad of paper on fire and tosses it to basically distract a pack of walkers. And that happens. So they go up to the parking structure and go to the bridge. And people basically had camped out there. This was a very cool scene from The Walking Dead, this episode. And basically, in this bridge, people camped out. It's actually kind of a smart location to do because there are 2 exits. So if you get pinned from one exit, you obviously go at the other one. Anyways, this bridge, it has 2 exits, and basically, they were camping out in that little bridge. They had both the doors chained and stuff like that. Walkers couldn't get in, but humans can. They open this door, they can crawl through the bottom. Obviously if they're smart enough, walkers really wouldn't be. But anywho, I think what happened, in all honesty, none of them got bitten by walkers. I think what happened is someone walked into that sky bridge and killed every single one of them while they were sleeping in their sleeping bags and in their tents. They killed every single person in there. Or another theory is maybe one of the group that was already sleeping in there with them maybe decided to kill everybody in there and take the supplies so that they could survive. That's another theory that was actually brought up on Talking Dead last night. So yeah. Anyway, they're all dead. There's walkers moving in the sleeping bags, so they take the ones in the sleeping bags, leave the ones in the tents, because obviously they're not dangerous at this point, because they're in tents, completely zipped in and stuff like that. They're just moving around a little bit, and anyway, basically, yeah, they kill the ones in the sleeping bags, check them for supplies, but the tents are basically too much trouble to deal with them, so they leave them. And it's actually revealed that will kind of cost them in a little bit. So basically they squeeze through the chain door into the building, and they find a lookout spot, and Carol alludes basically to her time with the girls and how awful it was. Daryl tells her that the reason he mentioned starting over was because they have to. And basically they spot a van on a bridge, and this van has a white cross painted on the back of the window. And they basically decide to investigate. So on their way out of the building, they go back into the sky bridge, and Carol crawls through, puts her gun through, and Noah gets the drop on him. Now, if you remember Noah, the colored kid from Season 5, Episode 4, obviously Slabtown, Noah, which is the guy that got out with Beth, but Beth obviously got caught at the end, and Noah got out anyways. That's who gets the drop on him. And Noah, he has what it takes to survive, in all honesty. Like, he has the nuts to rob Daryl and Carol. Like, that is that's pretty extreme. So he picks up the gun, and he basically says, drop your crossbow, drop your weapons, stuff like that. No one has to get hurt. I just need weapons, and that's it. And baby Noah is planning to get Beth back. Maybe that's why he needs the weapons. Noah's not this kid that would just leave somebody behind. In all honesty, that's why he's still staying in Atlanta. He's not outside of Atlanta. He did mention a camp back in Virginia or something that he wanted to get back to, and he's not going there yet. He's had plenty of time to start making the move and stuff like that, but he hasn't gone yet. And we have to kind of wonder why. He's probably planning on getting Beth back. So anyways, he just needs weapons and everything. Too bad, basically, these guys, they both, they don't know at this point that they're both looking for Beth. Noah basically apologizes for what he's about to do, and then he cuts open the tent. He says, "You guys look strong. I'm sure you can handle it." And anyway, he takes their weapons, and the walkers come out of the tents, which obviously that's a problem I was kind of alluding to when they didn't kill the walkers in the tents previously. Walkers come out of the tents, start heading toward Daryl and Carol. Daryl still has his knife, and Carol has a gun in her back, kind of like tucked in her pants, obviously in the back. And she pulls that out, she shoots the walker, and she's just about to shoot Noah, and Daryl kind of slaps the gun, sort of, not out of her hand, but slaps the gun down so that she shoots the floor. And, he basically didn't want her to shoot him. He didn't want her to shoot Noah. Even though Noah just, obviously robbed them, Daryl kind of realizes that Noah only robbed him because it's what's necessary for Noah to survive. He says that it's just a kid. He just needs weapons to survive. And he knows that. You got to do what you got to do. And there's no reason to kill a kid, basically, is what he's saying. So anyways, he basically says, he's just a kid. Anyways, they make it out of the bridge, basically without further incidents, and they make it to the bridge where that van was, and it's hanging off the side of the bridge, basically, and it looks very, very dangerous. So instead of one of them sitting on the bumper to keep it basically from falling off, they both climb into the front, and they find a stretcher that says GMH on the bottom. Now, Carol says that it could be Grady Memorial Hospital. By this time, they're pretty well surrounded by walkers on the bridge. They're low on ammo, and they don't know what else to do. So they get out of the van, trying to kind of get out of that horde of walkers, and they just start surrounding them. So the only option they have is to get back into that van. They close the doors. and this van is hanging off the bridge. And this is a very, very scary part, especially for Carol and Daryl, obviously. So they get back into the van, they close the back doors, it's still hanging off the bridge, they go off into the front, they buckle in, and while this is happening, they kind of hold hands, and the van falls off the bridge. And Carol is absolutely terrified of heights, apparently. I mean, I would too, obviously, if I was taking a plunge off a fucking bridge. But she's absolutely petrified, and while this is happening, she actually does get hurt a little bit. Her shoulder's kind of a bit messed up, but it's all good. It's all good. She keeps on trooping. Anyway, van falls off the bridge. Luckily, it lands on all four wheels, and basically they get out. They start walking by, trying to go to the hospital, basically. Anyways, Daryl isn't too much worse, obviously. But Carol, like I said, has a pretty nasty bruise, and she kind of hurt her chest/shoulder. They decided to basically scope out Grady Memorial Hospital, basically to see what they can find out. And from the nearby building, they were able to see cars with white crosses on top of a parking structure next to the hospital. So they'd stake it out, basically. And Daryl asked Carol basically what she meant when she said that he was different, because earlier she said that he was different, and she said that it was basically like he was a child before and now he's a man. And then she relates her time at the shelter and how she went back to her husband after just a day and a half with Sophia at the shelter. She went back to her husband and let him beat her up again. At the prison, she basically says at the prison she got to be who she always wanted to be and who she always thought she would be. But even that burned up, quote, burned up. And everything is kind of burning up. This is what she kind of explains. Sophia kind of burned up in all this madness. Not physically burned like fire, but in the zombie apocalypse, sort of like kind of consumed, if you guys know what I mean. I guess that's kind of why the episode is entitled Consumed, because everything they're talking about has been consumed. Her daughter has been consumed by this apocalypse. As safe as the prison was, that has been consumed by this apocalypse, and everything like that. Basically, their old life has been consumed by this apocalypse. Everybody has to start over. There has to be something new that you have to do in order to survive nowadays, and that's what they're kind of saying. She basically says that everything has burned up, and everything now just consumes you. And Daryl basically replies, we ain't ashes. Basically, he basically says that, we aren't ashes. We do have to change, but we're not dead. We're consumed in a way that our old life is gone, but we're still here. We get to start over. That's what we need to do. We have to start over. There's no other way around it. And anyways, they hear bangs nearby, and basically they find one of Daryl's arrows pinning a walker to the wall. Obviously, this alludes to Noah stealing his crossbow. And then they hear the gunfire in the next room. Noah is basically tussling a walker against a wall, against sort of like a door. And he manages to basically get a bookshelf and sort of pin it up against this door, try to keep the walker out. And he basically... he manages to put this bookshelf up against the wall, unless it was already there, but I'm guessing he did it. And he was tussling a walker, and he manages to push this walker onto Carol. Carol's obviously injured with that hurt shoulder and with the bruise on her chest and stuff like that. She can't really push it off her, but thankfully Daryl helps her out, sticks the knife in the back of the walker's head. And then he goes after Noah. And like I said, now Noah is kind of with this bookshelf, holding the bookshelf against the door, sort of try to keep the walker out. And basically Daryl body checks Noah, basically, like straight hockey, and into the bookshelf, which basically falls on Noah. Noah's now trapped. And now a walker's, like I said, trying to get through the door crack. And that actually, what happens? He kind of falls through. Basically, Noah's pleading with Daryl and Carol, basically saying, please, I'm sorry, I needed to do what I needed to do. Daryl basically says, I helped you once, I ain't helping you again. And this is where I think Daryl's kind of trying to get Carol to realize that, we can still help people. Basically Carol before says, uh, I don't know if we can help people anymore. That's what she kind of says, in a way to kind of make them come back and start over from this apocalypse that probably, people have done so much bad stuff in this apocalypse now, that there's not really a way to come back from it. And that's what she's kind of alluding to. She's kind of saying, I don't know if we can help people come back emotionally. And then she's also saying that I don't know if we can help people in general, because some people have to die in order for us to survive. So there's always a risk in helping people, is what she's trying to say. And Daryl kind of takes that on in this scene right now. He basically puts this all on her. He basically makes Carol fight for Noah's life. He says, I ain't helping you. I helped you once. I ain't helping you again. And now basically the roles reverse, and Carol basically asks Daryl to help him. Daryl's walking away. It seems that he won't. And Carol's just, he's sitting there pleading. She calls out his name. Basically asking him to help, and this is where Daryl turns around and shoots the walker in the head. Just as the walker gets through the door, he's about to chew on Noah's face, basically. He was that close. Noah's obviously still pinned underneath the bookshelf. Daryl shoots his arrow and kills the walker. So now, in another flashback now, this is another one, obviously, earlier, of Carol burning the bodies at the prison. This one, basically, is now of Carol just after the assault on Terminus, basically. And, again, there's obviously the backdrop of smoke, which is definitely a reoccurring theme. Smoke and kind of fire and, stuff like that. It's definitely a reoccurring theme in this episode because of this whole consumed theme that they got going in this episode, and this whole burning thing. Everything has been consumed and burned up by this apocalypse, so they kind of keep alluding to this, in all honesty. This smoke thing that Carol's got going. Obviously, we've seen that in episode 14 of season 4 with Lizzie and Mika, when Mika basically said, if the smoke is white, obviously it means the fire is out. If it's black, then it's still burning. So anyways, it's kind of just a reoccurring theme. She's kind of bringing back memories of Mika, and then at the same time, she's just alluding to basically everything being burned up now in this new world. Including like their older life and people they used to know and places they used to know and, stuff like this. So anyways, basically now they help Noah up, and he starts worrying about the Grady bunch, is what I like to call them. Basically the people at Slabtown, at the hospital. He's basically worried about them hunting him down. And now they managed to basically figure out that they're all trying to save the same person, which is Beth. Basically, he looks down at this car with the white crosses, and he basically says, we have to get out of here, they're going to find me. And Daryl says, wait, who are going to find you? And basically he looks down at the same car and sees the white crosses. And then Daryl basically says, did you see a blonde girl there? And this is where he brings out the name Beth. And basically they all discover that they know the same person. They're all trying to save the same person, stuff like this. And anyways, moving on, that car arrives. And, they're obviously searching for Noah. They heard the gunshots and stuff like that. So anyways, they run to they run to the building next door. And basically Daryl stops to help Noah because Noah has kind of fallen. His leg is still injured from episode 4, basically, when he fell down the elevator shaft. His leg is still injured. So Daryl stops to help Noah. And Carol basically is trying to take point. She runs into the street. And she gets hit by the car. She gets hit by that car with the white crosses that has arrived. Anyway, she gets hit by the car, and Daryl tries to run after her, obviously, and Noah basically holds him back, and he basically stops Daryl from running after her, telling him that they will be able to help her. They will be able to help her. They're not good people in a sense, but they do definitely help people. They do definitely help them get back on their feet, but then obviously the whole thing with working off your debt, never being able to leave, stuff like that. He basically says they'll be able to help her. We can't at this point. We don't really know what to do. They'll be able to help her. We can get her back, and we can get Beth back. And Daryl basically asks, what's it going to take? And Noah replies with a lot. They got guns and people. And then Daryl basically, big ol' fuck you to this whole Grady bunch. Basically says, so do we. And obviously, Daryl and Noah, they go into a fence. Carol, is kind of stretchered off, put back into the car, and they kind of go on their way. Daryl and Noah steal the truck. They go through a fence, steal a truck, and they hit off, obviously, back to the church, alluding to what we've seen back in Season 5, Episode 3 at the end. Obviously, when Daryl came out of the woods, and Michonne asked, where's Carol? And Daryl basically looked back and said, hey, come on out. Obviously, like I said before in my prediction video, I know it's Noah. It's honestly pretty obvious that it is Noah that comes out of the woods with Daryl. So anyway, yeah, it's Noah. He obviously brought back Noah to the church basically to get help to go back and fight for Carol and Beth. Now, one prediction that I did get wrong is that I originally thought that Carol was basically faking it, trying to get into there. She was basically faking it. Faking her injuries, faking that she was weak, and stuff like that, to get into this hospital to try to go undercover, basically, and save Beth that way. But that is definitely not the case, my friends. She got smoked by the car. I don't know if she's going to be all right. I'm guessing, honestly, that she will be. She'll probably pull through. She's a very, very strong woman, and very, very, very cool. So anyway, they steal a truck. They hit off, presumably, like I said, back to the church, but maybe to do an otherwise untouched Cracker Barrel. I'm reading this recap site right now, and this is pretty funny. I'm just using it for notes and stuff like that. But it says right here, it's like, maybe to an untouched Cracker Barrel, where they will spend the rest of their lives. I think that would be pretty funny. I could see Daryl going to a Cracker Barrel. But anyways, that's pretty funny. I'm actually reading thewalkingdead.com, just going off the notes and stuff, so if you guys want to kind of read it, you can kind of go over it as well. Anyways, basically, that's it. That's the end of the episode. There's not really anything else to say. They hit off in that truck, obviously going back to the church, and who knows what's going to happen. There's a promo and a sneak peek and everything like that. I'm not going to review that now, but it does look very, very cool, and I'm very, very excited for next week's episode. So hopefully you guys are too. But anyways, that was it for my episode review of this week's episode of The Walking Dead. This was Season 5, Episode 6, Consumed. Very, very pumped for Season 5, Episode 7, entitled, Hold on. I don't remember what it's titled. Crossed. It's called Crossed. There we go. I knew that. Anyways, Season 5, Episode 7, called Crossed. I'm going to be doing my prediction video, obviously, this coming Thursday, which is going to be November the 20th, here on my channel. So definitely look forward to that. Definitely subscribe if you guys haven't already, if you guys are interested in my predictions and reviews videos. And definitely, if you did, feel free to hit the video with a like. If you did like it, obviously, is what I was trying to say. I'm stuttering right now because it's early in the morning, and I very, very, very apologize for that. Again, like I said, I don't really know exactly what I'm saying, But anyways, that's it. That's really it. There's nothing else to say. So hopefully you guys did enjoy yourself. If you did, feel free to hit the video with a like, share it with your friends. Tell me in the comment section below what you guys thought of the episode. Kind of give me a brief review of what you guys thought, and I'd be very interested to hear it. Maybe we can have a little discussion in the comment section. So yeah, definitely look forward to my prediction video and other videos to come soon. If you guys are subscribed to my entire channel, or if you just watch the Walking Dead stuff, obviously Monday and Thursday are my primary days for Walking Dead. And yeah, I'll see you guys then. Alright guys, bye.